Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Michael Brooks on today. Michael Brooks was a client, friend of mine. He's founder and CEO of GoLance since a decade. He's also an investor, member at YPO. He does a bunch of things. He's bullish on crypto. He is in Puerto Rico. I am in Oaxaca, Mexico. This podcast is presented to you by podpire.com. If you want to start a podcast, monetize it, go to podpire.com. Mike, nice to have you on the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Well, Charles, good to see you. You already know about myself because we're homies. Um, I don't know how much wisdom I have. I have a lot of experience, but I wouldn't confuse that with wisdom. Maybe some people that can enjoy the benefit of my experience will consider it wisdom if they don't make the same mistakes that I did. Isn't that what wisdom is? Learning from the
I think
mistakes
you
of others.
have tons of wisdom. Why?
Thank you.
Because our first podcast episode that we did together, like we went on a tangent. I'm not sure if it was the expensive whiskey, or if it was Max. Shout out to Max. But yeah, you were like going very deep philosophically. So let's start with the beginning
Thank
of
you.
your career. Like, why did you decided to go in to entrepreneurship and become a founder? Is it like the desire for freedom?
Yeah, yeah, that was it. Just desire for freedom. I guess I didn't. I've always tried to make a buck and thought it was better to create a job than just to take one. But going out and it wasn't. I don't know. Yeah, it's freedom, and then you realize it's something more. You want to leave your mark. You want to do something of value. I mean, the idea of just going out and making money, being an entrepreneur is not always the greatest way to do that, right? You can do that a lot of ways. But I have ideas, and I like to get out and push them forward, and I like talking with people. And ultimately, I know who I am. I'm a worker, and I like working, and I like working with good people. And my business partner Dan. What's up, Dan?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey
You remember
Dan,
Dan?
didn't see you.
Yeah, he's always in the background lurking. But it's like to me, it's people talk about the work life balance and all that, but I don't know when so much of your life is work, um, you find your own balance. But it's yeah, when I need to nap, I nap. When I need to sleep, I sleep. When I need to eat, I eat. But I really like what I do, and there's a joy and satisfaction that I get. Dan gives me a quote. I call him an Olympic gold medal husband and father, because he's been with his same woman, the only woman he's ever been with, for 30 years. She's got this 30-year engagement. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, thank you.
But he says to himself, or people ask him, "Didn't things change? How do you deal with this?" He said, "Yeah, things change all the time. I've fallen in love with my wife 10 different times, right?" And while it's tough to make a comparison to marriage and business, like, you have to be able to fall in love with what you're doing. You have to be able to enjoy it. And there's a great satisfaction that you get from moving the human experience forward. I've made more money doing other things, but nowhere near as much as I enjoy uh, the wins that we get when we create something of value. And GoLance lets us do that. So it's been a lot of businesses and a big journey. And I've got some advice on that for people that are trying to identify what they're going to be doing or what they want to do, or discovering what they may want to do. And a lot of that revolves around who you are, and how do you figure out who you are, because that'll help you understand what to do.
Yeah, sort of ikigai. But how do you figure out who you are? I think a lot of younger kids have problems figuring that out nowadays.
I imagine it would start with asking yourself some questions and knowing that life can change, but saying, if you were going to be committed to one, well, I probably would approach it the same way I sometimes choose meals at a restaurant. I very rarely even read the menu anymore, Charles. I look at the waiter or the waitress, And I'm like, I ask them, what do they recommend? And if I don't feel like I'm getting an honest recommendation, I like to throw this question out. If you were going to die in 3 hours and this is the last meal you're ever going to eat, which one would you choose? And price and whatever their chef wants them to push or whatever's popular goes out the window. And I get an actual honest answer from somebody. And so when people are trying to figure out who they are, it's about figuring out those questions that'll get you an honest answer for yourself. When I founded GoLance, I asked myself, how much longer do I want to work? And I couldn't imagine not working. It's just not who I am. I can't imagine even, up into an old age, like not really showing up. I said, I want to be on it till about 75, 76, 75. I was like, I got to be on it. At that point, I can kind of tear back and maybe I don't want to be on it so much. But what's the point? I can't, or maybe I stay longer, maybe I get done. But if I believe that right now, how long do I want to push myself like this? And I probably would say that because honestly, I look at people who haven't, including members of my own family that I love, but I see what happens when they don't. And it's more of a, geez, I don't want that. I've seen people that are just, excited about when they get to retire. And that doesn't excite me. In fact, it kind of scares me. And so I go, I don't want to slow down to any significant degree until I think 75. I'd like to allow myself. That may change. Life happens. But if that's an honest answer for me, then how do I identify what I want to do? Well, what can I commit? At the time, I was about 35, 36. What can I commit to for 40 years? If I was only allowed to have one business for 40 years, I know that would break you down the concept of only working. And we're gonna dive into that in just a second because I'm gonna ask you that question if you allow me. If I'm allowed to do and commit and primarily focus on one thing for 40 years, what would it be? And I really I like people. I like getting jobs done. I like giving people jobs, getting people work. I like producing for people. I like actually somebody stepping back and going, that didn't exist and now it does. And I feel like the amount of projects that I get to do with GoLance, I get to see that and be a part of that. And it's I get to fall in love over and over and over again. So that's where I go. That's where I got the idea of GoLance, saying this is somewhere I want to be for the next 40 years on full capacity. Now, who knows? Maybe it'll go longer. Maybe it'll go shorter. It depends. Life always happens, but that's how I gained the insight that I didn't have before.
Love it. Yeah, dude, you're a philosopher, business philosopher in a good way. Um,
Thank you.
okay, yeah, I agree with the retirement. You're decaying at some point, and if you don't invite some form of pain, you won't get growth, and if you don't grow, you sort of die. I'm bullish on Golands. I think, yeah, in the next 40 years, jobs may disappear due to AI, but freelancing will not disappear. I picture a system in which everyone in on this planet Earth is a freelancer, and there's this machine that will fetch them micro jobs, right? Do you agree with that thesis?
Yeah, and if that was it, and if that thesis was the extent of it, I'd find another business. The vision, that's not a vision that I can go, oh great, I can help it. That's it. No, I believe in a much bigger vision, Charles. I think that with the work that we're doing and the power of AI, we can remove or significantly reduce, almost eradicate the the notion that it's not a right fit, right? Because we can collect and harvest so much data and work with an understanding, not just about, I think all of the other platforms have missed the fucking mark, bro, because they just figure out, do you pass this skill test? Do you have these reviews? Here's this linear thinking. Who are you? Okay. Are you deserving of money from this company to do a job? And I think that those days are dead and they're buried. And what we're looking at now is finding out, and we have so much ability to find out who people are from a fit perspective, from a cultural perspective. And then I think the person who pays us, the valuable client, to get full value out of what we're providing is to understand who they are, to do cultural surveys with them. And if they work with us and give themselves and open themselves up and open their culture up so that we can better understand it, we can solve the problem of it's not a right fit. And then we go, yeah, this person's got the best skills, they've got the best talent, they've got all this stuff, they got everything you need, but are they going to be a good fit with your people and your organizations and your divisions? And that's how I think you can shape and work with remote culture in a way that has not been touched yet.
You still believe in the hourly concept, or should an AI determine what this person is adding as value and get paid upon that value?
Okay, so that's interesting. Hourly is just one unit of metrics. Man, if you pay me enough, I'll work hourly, right? What does it matter? If someone says, Michael, I want a value from your time, and how much would it cost you to come do a seminar for 3 hours, or how much would it cost you to be on a panel for an hour and a half? I can come up with an hourly rate, right? Where I value my time. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Somewhere along the way, trading dollars for hours, people look down upon that. I think that's an absurdity to look down upon that. It's just one mechanism. It doesn't mean you have to live there. It doesn't mean it has to be the only source, but lawyers do it. Lawyers do pretty well, at least the ones that are good at it.
Everyone hates lawyers.
Well, they deserve to be hated. They're despicable people, and they have no real right to life. I take a very Shakespearean view on lawyers. I think a famous Shakespeare quote is, "Let's go kill all the lawyers." No, they really are terrible people. And what I like about lawyers is they're self-deprecating. They hate themselves. At the end of their careers, they usually look at themselves and they're like, "I really didn't do anything. I'm a miserable person, and I just went there and wrote contracts." No, I can rant about lawyers all the time, but no, I think the the method of AI is going to be of value, connecting and understanding of what's going on within organizations. AI is going to reach out to you and say, Charles, we did this integration. What's your thought of it? And you're going to give feedback, and it's going to go provide and grab feedback from multiple people in the organization and go to the stakeholders and say, hey, we spent about $20,000 to $27,000 on this integration. The person that led it is super bullish on it. They think it's great. However, all the stakeholders think that the last solution was better and a lot less costly. And we looked at customer service messages, and they seem to be happier too. We think you may want to consider reverting back, or at least going and talking to the person that did the integration. And AI is going to change the communication from here's data, look at reports, make decisions, to let's have a natural conversation. Here's a natural report that you would get from like a COO.
Right. And personalized. Yes. Do you think that humans, they need to double, triple, 10x down on creativity if AIs are good robots? Because when I prompt my AIs to write AI code emails nowadays, it's still very much reliant on my creativity and the way I want it to go. And AI is not more creative than Charles. Charles is like 9.5 on 10 creative. The AI is probably 8 on 10. That's about to change, but that's my little human moat, I feel, and I'm gonna hold on to it. Do you think that this is gonna go throughout the market, and that in the future we may see one man $1 billion company, one person just managing a bunch of AIs?
I don't know. Who cares? I think most people are robots. And if you don't believe me, go through the TSA. Go to an airport and ask a TSA a question that requires any amount of thought and breaking
Sir,
policy.
step back.
There's just like I think the question people are going to have to ask is what does it even mean to be human anymore? Like if there's work and there's work being done, what's possible? So yeah, what are we going to do with deprogramming the current bots that are out there? And those bots are walking among us. I see these zombies walking down the street, drooling on their phones. It's not a pretty sight. When I have an authentic, genuine conversation with somebody anywhere, it's a beautiful thing. I was traveling yesterday with my girlfriend. We were in JFK, and there was just plenty of. You got to order the food off the app. Can I just pay up here? Order the food off the app. Okay. And a guy came in with a backpack, an older guy, big old smile. He's like, "Hey, how do I order stuff?" And I was like, "Well, they don't allow human interaction here when it comes to the process of ordering. You have to take a picture of your phone. If you don't have a phone that scans QR codes, I'm afraid you're going to starve." And he laughed, and we had a good time. And he's like, "Okay," had a great attitude, went on with his life. I'm treasuring those types of conversations. So, from an entrepreneurial perspective, as somebody this now, there's always AI is great. I don't believe in the ultimate takeover of AI is going to decide everything in our lives. Creative people that are yearning to be free are going to be creative people yearning to be free, and they're going to find it, or they're going to find death in the process, just like they always have. Those that are willing to be bots and fit into a system, and AI is going to manage every aspect of their life, it's just going to be a new form of bureaucracy that is going to be very comfortable for them. Know who you are.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the person that likes it. Maybe you're the person that goes, "Tell me the policy and I'll repeat what to say." And there's going to be a place for them in the world. There's also going to be a place for the smiling old guy who's like, "I don't have to eat. I've enjoyed the conversation." And, man, this guy, he was deep into his 60s, maybe 70s, big smile, backpack, and just happy dude. Like, "Oh, okay." Didn't complain about it. Like, I kind of chuckled at the absurdity of the innovation that removes the human experience. I don't know. Preferably, I'd like to remove it even more, but not all the time. You go to a Michelin star restaurant. I don't want an AI serving me, right? I want to have a human interaction. I want to know. Uh, I want to know something about. I want to get a good feeling from that process, but I know that those types of things are entertainment and not consumption. Somebody that goes to Wendy's, McDonald's, they want as little human interaction or the drive-through at Krispy Kreme. Do you really want to talk to anybody when you're going through the drive-through at Krispy Kreme? No, there's nothing but shame there. You want to go press a button, swipe a card, and get your donuts, and and have your unfortunate consumption experience.
Right.
But that's where I see it going, man. So people that want to be free, there's going to be more complexity. There's going to be more learning. There's probably going to be a higher learning curve, right? You want to be a good plumber. You want to be a good technician. You want to be a good electrician. Hey, man, you could apprentice. You can do that. Now, if you want to be a part of the more complex world, you're going to have to start a little younger. You're going to have to put in a little bit of time. However, unbelievable resources, right? Unbelievable resources to learn now. I think college is the dumbest thing on the planet now. I mean, it's hard for me to make a case for it. I have two kids. I think maybe one of them should go but it's an extension of high school. It's an extension of high school. It's not for everybody. Know yourself. You don't need it to be successful. The world's changing, and I like it. Charles, can I ask you on this vein, because I know you've been peppering me with questions. That's cool, and it's my turn to blab around. But I would want to know, man, you're a guy who does a lot, right?
Yeah.
But if you were going to do one business and focus on one thing for the next 40 years, and only that thing, what would it be?
Longevity.
Longevity.
Yeah, that's my moonshot. My AI businesses, I want to create an automated AI empire, which is sort of a fantasy, but it's coming realer and realer by the day. That's going to be the cash flow. And yeah, the longevity business. Made an inquiry on my LinkedIn the other day. What would be the most expensive product ever? Plus, living happy and for a while is nice, right? And most people
You know, but
answer
what? Why?
longevity.
Why? Why do you want people to live longer?
Longer and happier because yeah, this life is good. Why should it stop? Life
I
is
don't know.
great, and especially if you're doing good, if you're helping other people through, in my case, it's information right now.
I mean,
Value
yeah,
that.
you touched on a point. I can see why we would want the Elon Musks of the world having longevity, but the
Yeah,
average run-of-the-mill bot, the guy who retires from the TSA, no offense to the hardworking people of the TSA that molest me every time I go through, but like if somebody's a human bot, why? Like,
but
like, do you really want them to live longer? And I'm not saying that I'm a genocidist or anything, but it's like, what's the point?
they don't
If I'm
want
not,
to live longer. Yeah, they probably
I think
don't
there's a
want.
point that I'm probably not going to want to. I mean, everybody talks about longevity, and it's nice to have that option. I want to work. I want to produce. I want to enjoy some kind of relaxing time in the twilight of my years. I'd like to impart as much wisdom as I can, but I am looking forward to the great beyond, and
Yeah.
not in a sadistic way. I mean, I know Dan, who's a devout Christian. He. There's not one man in this planet that I know that fears death less than him because he knows exactly where he's going.
It's
I
going
am
in a
not.
nice place. But yeah,
I'm not a devout religious person. I don't know where I'm going, but I am excited about the journey wherever it may take me. So I think it's great. Yeah, you want to be healthy and you want to live long, but some people are a little loony. They're like, I'm going to be 500 years old and that's my goal. And I'm like, is that really is numbers on a calendar really
it's a
your
bit
goal?
creepy. Yeah, it's a bit
Well,
creepy.
think about some of the people that have done the most greatest conduits of change, the greatest people on the planet. I mean, do you think what would life be like in the United States if Martin Luther King just thought about longevity, right?
Mm.
Like, what would life be like
Gandhi.
in the United States if Gandhi just said, "I'm really concerned about how long I'm going to live," you
Yeah, I
know?
would
In
like
fact, it's
to
quite
have these
obvious.
folks around nowadays. Imagine like there's a lot of
Sure, but
disinformation nowadays.
would these folks be these folks if that was their primary concern? Gandhi was willing to give up his life and he stopped eating for like a month to stop wars
Right.
in India. So I'm thinking out loud. It's like, hey, it's a good idea. You're right. If we could get Gandhi, if we could get Elon Musk to live forever, man,
Einstein.
for we Einstein, yeah, maybe they could have accomplished more and created more. So to that degree, you're right, and
But
it's
what's
probably
the
good.
opposite of that?
Like,
It's also like euthanasia, right? I think in like 10 to 50 years, people that do not want to live, it's gonna be viewed as normal to just go to a center, listen to some butterfly music and go, I think a lot of people will choose that path and it will be socially accepted.
whether it's socially accepted or not, it's sad. It's sad. I
Yes,
mean, there's
very sad.
if there's a way out of that without I mean it depends the reason. If somebody's terminal and they're yeah, I get that. They have like they call it the Tesla pod of death. It's in Canada. I think it's Canada. It's you go in there and you press a button, you go to sleep and you don't wake up. Um and it's and I understand it. I do. It's dangerous in my opinion playing that level of God and no, I if some 27-year-old kid who's suffering from depression is it socially acceptable for him to just go and go, ah, you know what, this life isn't for me. I think I'm going to exit it. Man, I hope that never gets socially acceptable. I hope
Yeah.
that no matter what, but somebody's got to stand for that kid or he's got to stand for himself.
Yeah, but
And
most people, well, not most people, but let's say like at least 30% of humans on this earth are leading a despicable existence. They don't like their life, they don't like where they're going, they have suicidal thoughts, and they don't have any way out, So if, I don't know,
there is a way
technology,
out. There's always a way out.
there
I
is.
think we need to stop saying there's no way out. If you ask Dan, I know what he's going to say. What's the way out?
God.
It's God. It's the
You're-
Bible.
yeah.
If you ask me the way out, nobody's depressed when they're running for their life, right? When there's a great movie with Michael Douglas, The Game. That was a great movie, and it was just about putting somebody in a complex position that. And it's funny because at the end, it's spoiler alert. He tries to kill himself unsuccessfully, and that becomes part of the show. But it's about driving somebody to that. No, I disagree, and that's from somebody who has some experience with that. I felt tortured in high school. I made so many
Same.
mistakes. I felt there was no way out, and I went in the garage and I just turned on the car. My dad was coming home, and I got suspended for something else, and I just kept fucking up. And I'm
Yep.
like, I don't want to live anymore. And I heard that you can kill yourself by going to the car and turning
Yep.
on the car in the garage. And I did. And he was going to walk in and find me dead. But I woke up and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. And I opened the door and it smelled terrible. And so I went
Yep.
out and I opened the garage and I fucked it up because I didn't roll down the window. Apparently, you needed to do that. So after a little while, I'm like, I can't even kill myself correctly. But I'm happy I'm alive, man. I'm happy that it's not acceptable. I'm happy whatever thought popped into my head that said, no, you know what? This is not the only way out. There's always a way out. And if I'm a pretty open guy, if being open about that helps anybody else, I hope it does. But it's yeah. If we get to that point where, and I'm going to go a little more political too. We're choosing to unlife. I don't even like changing the fucking language. I hear people going, I've got this real problem. I'm in a lot of pain. It's to the point where I'm considering unlifing myself. It's like, no, you're fucking killing yourself, bro. You're not unlifing. You're taking your own life. Unlife, like that's like I'm just deleting. I'm just erasing this one aspect. When we start softening the language to that degree, it's, dude, are you willing to fight for your own life or not? Right? If you're not at the age where you feel you've accomplished what you need to, and then you get out there and fight. You're not going to see a lion starving in the desert thinking about unlifing himself.
Yeah.
Right? That's not how it works.
Curse of being a human. And yeah, for people out there, gotta keep on fighting. I guess the
Do
challenge
monkeys
is,
get depressed and just throw themselves off of cliffs? Like, no, we have an innate need to keep forward. And I'm not disparaging mental illness. Believe me, I've seen that. I'm not at all. I'm just saying I don't think it should ever be truly accepted in such or treated so softly.
yeah,
I mean, well, let's look at, are we a better society now, or when abortion was looked at as safe, rare, and what was the famous Clinton line? Rare and safe and whatever. And look, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to turn this into an abortion issue or this that. I'm certainly not trying to say I have any legal position on it. I'm just saying, are we better now than when we looked at this with, dude, no, this is not something that should be so readily acceptable without question. Not saying that somebody shouldn't have this or that. Like, do your thing. Like, it's not. I'm
you're
not
saying the
one, but I
default
think it's
state should
okay
be
to
to keep
ask these
on fighting.
questions.
Yeah.
I think it's okay to ask these questions, and if it helps save somebody from making a decision to end a life or their own, yeah, no, that's not something we should be treated lightly by any
Yeah.
measure.
In this life, there's like revolving doors decision, which you can turn around, and there's one door decision in which it's 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, right? So yeah, when you're taking your life, it's a decision you can't overturn. So yeah, people should think that through. But I think, what's in my mind, because I think most people had a rough teenage years or during high school, and I didn't have much of the mental models I have today. So I think or brain or young juvenile brain has like no experience of what it's like to go through life. We're afraid of most of the things we don't know, right? So what would be your solution to install these mental models in a brain like, hey, you need to keep on going. Hey, don't be afraid of that. This is normal. You told us at the
Yeah,
beginning that education and the way it is nowadays with high school and college is bullshit. I very much agree with that. what would be a better way to educate youth about meditation, mental models, how to forge a long and lasting
There's so
relationship?
much there's so much there now, right? Like my son listens to this sleep app every night. It's like Waves or whatever, and he has a great night's sleep, better than I ever did, and I'm stoked on for him on that. Yeah, I don't know. Dan and I did a podcast once with a guy who was doing like an AI therapist, and we're like, "Come on, man, you got to be kidding me!" But by the end of it, we're like, "Okay, this makes sense. I get this. It's an
Yeah.
out. It's an outlet, but I mean, at some point, if we really want to remove the human experience entirely, I think just by being human and doing human things for Dan, it's religion, it's going to church, it's getting community, and I respect him immensely for that. For me, it's a little different, but it very much involves humans, and it's not something I would ever want to even have a conversation about automating.
Right. But just about probably reshaping education the way it is. Like me, I want to start a school once my childrens are born into this world and teach them how to be human 101, which they don't teach us at school, right? So
Well, yeah, don't go
listening
to school.
skills, question asking skills, and uh handling
Well,
pain, like they don't teach us to handle
Carl,
pain at
where are
school.
you? Where are you in having kids? How far are you in?
1 year ETA.
1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. So nobody's pregnant yet.
No. It's happening.
So, I mean, you're talking to a guy who homeschooled his kids for 8 years. My daughter decided to start a business at 9, and her biggest month, she made $2,000 net profit. And
Wow.
she stuck with it for years. And there's nothing I'm more proud of in this world than my kids. And my son wasn't so entrepreneurial, but he really took to being homeschooled. And that doesn't mean that there was the socialization question. They had plenty of socializing, but they're extremely well mannered, well educated. And we didn't focus that much on actual hard academics. And if you think about it, I think they did a study where school, it's got like an hour and 20 minutes of actual academics a day. And it's not even that great. Um, at least for the younger years. Now they have chosen to go to boarding school and they love it and they love the interaction and they're both excelling at their own schools. They don't go to the same one. We found that they're better for better different schools. But homeschooling and taking them during those critical years and not lobotomizing them with processitized education. I mean, I think it's garbage. Even most private schools are garbage, but definitely I think public schools tantamount to child abuse these days, at least most of them. And they're the argument is a constant false dichotomy. We should just pay our teachers more, pay our teachers more, pay our teachers more. But it's how money flows from houses and at least in the United States, how it flows from property taxes to actual teachers. It doesn't happen. I can guarantee you, let's take an 8, a 9, or a 10-year-old, right? And have that kid sit next to you while you do your 2000 CEO podcast and you give them one function to do and you spend the time working with them to get that one function done right. And then you move them on to another function. The education that they would get would far exceed anything anyone could get at any school that I've ever heard of. And do you have the patience to do that? Wonderful thing. One of the wonderful things about the world today is people are more accepting of their families interacting with business. You talk about a work-life balance. I mean, I had my daughter on a podcast. We interviewed somebody who was he built an entrepreneurial school program for kids. My daughter's far more suited for that than I am. So she came in and she got to participate and ask him questions. And I think we did really well. We had a wonderful experience. So that type of engagement to me but it comes down to where the parents lie on this subject. What is their commitment to their kids? How will they be willing to adjust their lives to for the future of their children? If
Right.
it's just well, I can't do it because I have to work because I'm a bot and I can't think of any other way. And I'm not willing to do anything or not put a plan to do anything else to adjust and not willing to look at any other jobs that might have my skills where I can work from home that tolerates my kids screaming in the background. Then, you know, they're going to create new bots.
There you go. Thank you, Michael. That was Michael Brooks. You can look him up on LinkedIn or golance.com.